All right. Well, it's been way too long since I've gotten the chance to make a video criticizing Zach Taylor, so finally that's back. Things were going so well. Honestly, the reason why I hadn't criticized him in a while is things were going well for a while. And in fairness, I don't really have many issues with the way this offense was ran. Really, my criticisms are on defense. Taylor is an offensive-minded guy. How much does he really have impact on the defense? I don't know. So really, the main guy is probably defensive coordinator Lou. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce his last name. It's Anarumo. Anarumo, perhaps. He's a first-time defensive coordinator, kind of. He was an intern for the Dolphins in 2015, and now under Zach Taylor, starting in 2019, he's been a defensive coordinator. And this was a bad performance. This was a really bad. Everything looked bad here, and they just looked so unprepared for an offense that's been really easy to prepare for. So, listen, Mike White does deserve a lot of credit, but this Cincinnati Bengals defense, it was rough, and it has me very worried for the future, quite frankly. So let's just get into it and talk about what went wrong. So let's start off with stuff like this. So what's going to happen here is that it's going to be a cover 3 zone. And if we're being honest, this is most of what Cincinnati ran, which, teams have had success sort of having this as their base coverage, but it's typically rare. And I feel like when you're going to have success with this kind of coverage, what you have to do is you have to make your decisions quickly. You have to get to your spot and cover up players quickly. Read the coverage or read the concepts you're going up against and just get there quickly. Look, right when this play starts, so, the route I showed you, the underneath route, it's open right here. There's 2 Cincinnati players who could cover it, and I don't really care which one does, but you want to know this stuff. These linebackers have to communicate with each other. I would prefer, probably the linebacker who's kind of closer over the middle, but again, I get it. It is kind of difficult, but you have 2 guys towards the bottom of the screen covering those 2 Jets receivers, so there really should be no excuse for none of these guys covering the open receiver. And it's not like they're not covering him ever, but really what happened was Mike White was continuously beating them to that spot. Look, White eventually gets to that throw and they're able to, gain some yards right there. I think some people would say, hey, credit to Mike White, he got it there quickly. And there certainly was some of that for sure. But, also, it's like, hey, listen, Mike White isn't Tom Brady, right? Despite the fact that some people are acting like he's the next Tom Brady, he is not. At least I assume he isn't. And plus, that was Mike White's second read, so it's not like he was getting it there that quickly, really. It took him 2.5 seconds to get there. You gotta cover that up quicker. You do. And there's also just stuff like this, where this is, I think, a good example of kind of some of the issues that happened. So what Cincinnati is doing is they're trying to disguise a little bit. I think they should have done stuff like this way more. You got a quarterback making his first start. Why aren't you blitzing? Why aren't you, trying to mix stuff up? Usually quarterbacks that make their first start struggle against the blitz, so it would make sense to do that more, but that's not what Cincinnati wanted to do too much, and really when they did, they had success. But what's fascinating about this play is this is a good example of kind of an issue that Cincinnati had, where they weren't running these plays particularly well, and Mike White was taking advantage. I've circled a New York Jets player. Think about it logically. Okay, if you're showing as though you're going to blitz, but you're not actually going to blitz, you're going to drop into cover 2. Well, if this is a blitz, where should Mike White throw towards? He should throw towards the guy who I've circled, right? Because nobody is currently lined up on him. The closest player is the safety. And so if he's running a quick route, which he is, then, okay, Mike White hits him. You gain some yards right off the bat, can probably pick up a first down immediately. So if that's what you're trying to get him to do, if that's what you want Mike White to believe, then you have to make sure you cover up that route. That's the first thing you have to accomplish. However, watch, right when this play starts, literally right when this play starts, the linebacker who's over there, he was too far lined up towards the middle. Maybe you could argue the second the ball is snapped, he should just break over and try to cut off the route underneath a little bit. That stuff can work from time to time. But the reality is, this is just, you basically just schemed yourself into an open receiver right here if you're Cincinnati. Because, of course, this was the read Mike White was going to make. And now he makes the throw. And again, give him credit for, not hesitating in these moments. But still, Cincinnati, you do have to be better. I think they overthought this in a lot of ways. Sometimes it's best to just, do the simple stuff. If you just played cover 2, you would have had a much better time there. Or if you just blitzed, you would have had a much better time there. They did kind of half of each, and it came back to bite them. And again, to reiterate, I think that, I I think it makes sense to disguise stuff against a rookie quarterback. I think that's smart. But when your disguise is getting a quarterback to throw it to the guy who's going to end up being the most open receiver on the play, that's not a good disguise. You're scheming yourself into open receivers if you're a defense. That's not what you want to do. It's the opposite of what you want to do. There was also a play like this. This is kind of more of like similar to that first play. It's taking them a little bit longer to get to their spots, and this is the kind of stuff that worries me a little bit. It does. We saw some of this stuff, and it makes me want to go back and rewatch some previous Bengals games and seeing, like, has this always been there and guys were just missing it, or is kind of the Mike LaFleur system just kind of a good system for this kind of stuff? You know, and it kind of was kind of a lottery pick. I don't know, but this is the stuff we saw the Jets run all season so far, so I don't know why the Bengals would be surprised by it. What's going to happen is it's quarters coverage, which, again, why are we playing so much quarters coverage against Mike White? What are we doing here? The guy's average depth of target in this game was 4 yards, and they were playing a lot of cover 2, a lot of quarters. Not like a lot, but way more than they should have for sure. Anyways, you see this concept. It's a relatively simple concept, right? The Cincinnati player over the middle, he can only cover one of those 2 Jets players. The other one can get open. So if it gets open, it gets open. Like, that can happen. However, watch how right when this play starts, so the linebacker over the middle immediately takes away the flat route, which I don't hate. Like, if that's what you want to do, then do that. But the issue is that, you know, the corner also is now leaning towards the flat route. So the only guy who's paying attention to the deeper route is the safety. It's hard for him to get over there and make this play. Really good defenses, they know, okay, if they're running this concept, then this is what we should do. If they're running that concept, then that is what we should do. And you get to that spot quicker. This just feels like they didn't really have a plan for a lot of this stuff. And again, paired with Mike White getting rid of the ball quickly, this was just a bad combination all the way around for the Bengals. It was bad on their defense. It was bad because the receiving core was doing a good job of, you know, running these plays that do well against this defense. And it was bad that you had Mike White throwing the ball quickly. It was kind of just a recipe for disaster, and you better believe teams are going to, you know, try to recreate that recipe on their own in future weeks. Let's take a step back. Let's go to last week now. So this has nothing to do with Cincinnati, but it's a good example of kind of failing to use things that you have in your toolbox, failing to use assets you have to your advantage. Because you saw New England, this is going to be a new play against New England, and what New England did a lot of against the Jets was really everything. They tried a bunch of different stuff, which is great if you're playing them the next week, because you can kind of look at that and say, okay, well, what did the Jets struggle with? What did they not struggle with? This is a play with Mike White in there, so you did have some tape on him. Not a ton, but you could at least look at this, and what you saw is he actually did decent against zone. It was really man coverage that the Jets have struggled with all season. And it makes sense. I mean, on this play, you know, there's a go route and there's also kind of a quick flat route. And Mike White likes to get rid of the ball quickly, likes to throw the ball quick, you know, not too far down the field. We really know that now. It's fair to say we didn't know that at the time, but still, watch what happens. Look, White takes the snap. He's going to, you know, very quickly try to make this throw, but you see it's not really open. Even if you make this catch, you're only gaining a couple yards. I mean, it's not really doing too much. So clearly, this is the kind of stuff you want to do. Worth mentioning, you look further down the field, there is a more open player. Still not going to get you a lot, but he's at least more open, and you couldn't make that decision, but Mike White isn't going to here. He makes that quick decision because, again, that's what he wants to do, and it worked out well against Cincinnati. I don't hate that decision, especially one, you know, for someone like him. He came in, you know, cold, so, you know, who knows what would have happened if he started this game. That is a different story. But as you see, White, you know, throws it, basically just I'm not sure if he was actually even trying to complete that. He might have just thrown it away right there, and it was probably the correct decision. You know, if that's all he saw right there, would be to throw it away. So you take away that quick route, and there's not really a lot left Mike White can do. He wants to get rid of the ball quickly, get rid of that. I don't blame Cincinnati for not going into the game with this plan. Like, okay, you know, he's a rookie, hard to know exactly what you should do. They tried the zone coverage stuff, but, you know, if you realize, okay, this isn't working, let's change stuff up, I wouldn't really crush them too much, but they didn't really change things up. Like, here's another example of just, it's not just the fact that they're continuously playing this cover 3 zone when it's not working. It's also just how bad they're doing it. This is a very simple concept. Tight end's going to run a deep route over the middle. His goal is to get the deep corner out of position. You have another receiver kind of run to where that deep corner is. So that's the way this play works. How do you stop this play? Well, right when this play starts, you're going to see how they didn't. I'm going to have to circle 4 different things right here, so I've color-coded them. So first, you do see in the black circle, tight end doing his job, taking the corner out of the play. Good work. Now, what some teams will do is once they see this kind of concept, you pass the tight end off to the safety, and the corner goes back to his original spot. But not a lot of teams do that, so that's not what they're doing. That's fine. Really, the guy who has to make this play is the player who I've circled in white, who's just completely lost on this. It's already going to be a mismatch. You have a wide receiver against a linebacker, so it's already a good situation for Mike White. But, you know, now it's a great situation. You have someone wide open. So as you see, White has time to, you know, get his feet planted. A safety actually makes a good play, tries to come in, but he shouldn't have to do that. That's not what his job should be. They should have a plan, right? They should know whose job it is. It really should be the linebacker making quicker reads. And what really frustrates me about this is they should have gone over this 1,000 times in film study, because I've seen this play 1,000 times. You know, I keep having to break down these videos, usually because Zach Wilson's such a hot button topic to talk about. I've seen this play 1,000 times. Like, everyone should know this kind of concept is coming up for the Jets, and everyone does know that except for Cincinnati, I guess. And finally, we saw stuff like this, where this was, okay, hey, you're finally playing man, you're finally blitzing, good work, right? And again, it's not the only time they did it, but this is kind of a bad example of it. They did do better on certain other examples. But the main thing I'm going to want you to take a look at is, so I've circled a linebacker, again, who's sort of in that A gap. You know, you can have linebackers fake as that are blitzing when they're not in the A gap. You can do that, but whatever. That's what they want to do. He's covering the halfback, though. However, watch what's going to happen on this play. So look, right when this play starts, you see him drop back. Worth mentioning, again, this is cover 0. So you have 5 guys covering the 5 eligible receivers. One of the eligible receivers is blocking. So it's really, you know, 4 one-on-one matchups right here. You see the linebacker, he's kind of saying, hey, I'm going to cover the guy that comes close to me because I have room that I have to go. The issue is that you have a safety who's staying very far deep, because this was a disguise. So he's also thinking to take that guy on. And this is kind of what I mean with lack of communication. The other Cincinnati player, he's taken on the right guy he's supposed to take on. But you now have, in a situation where there's nobody else left, you're in a tough situation where literally there's a player that's going to be completely uncovered on this play. That's not good football. Look, it's sort of that check down. White finds it quickly because, again, that's what he loves to do, and you pick up 15 yards or so. So there was just a lot of bad defense by Cincinnati, which is unfortunate because they clearly have talent, but they weren't doing a great job this week. And the concern is, our team's going to start to get, you know, more used to this, or was it just one bad week and it'll be fine? I don't know. So yeah, I mean, that's what I think. I think it was disappointing. I really do. You know, how concerned am I about the Bengals? I really don't know. Part of me feels like, okay, well, hey, they can learn from this. It's good to have it up now. But it seems like these kind of defenses that struggle with this kind of stuff continue to struggle. The flip side, though, is, you know, they've had success before this game, so hopefully that success can continue. Although looking up the numbers, you know, they're currently 20th in defensive points per drive, which is a little concerning because I feel like their talent is better than a near bottom 10 defense. So they got to start doing this stuff better. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.